All right, so this will review area and circumference. This will possibly draw on a review from middle school math. If it's more than just a review, that's fine. We'll go over it in depth, but if you got any questions, stop me, let me know. So this is going over area and circumference of a circle. Your area formula is area equals pi r squared. Pi is just a number, 3.14. We will use the pi symbol in the calculator instead of rounding. And r is your radius. Remember, radius goes from the center to the edge. So area is pi r squared. That is the only area formula. Circumference is a tad bit different because it has two formulas that can be used depending on what information you are given. Circumference can be C equals pi times D, or C, which is for circumference, could be 2 pi r. It all depends on what information you are given. Pi times D, D is going to be your diameter, whereas C equals 2 pi r. It is 2 times pi times r, and r is your radius. Now, when you are solving these and you are getting an answer, there are two different ways to answer, two different formats. The first one is answering in, so there are two different ways. If it asks for exact form or it says in terms of pi, both of those mean the same thing. Exact form in terms of pi mean the same thing. That means you will not plug in pi into the calculator. And pi should be in your final answer. So when you're not plugging in pi into the calculator, you will plug in everything else. But pi should be in your answer because pi is not going to go in the calculator. The other form of answering is a rounded answer. It will typically tell you to round to a certain decimal place. And this is when you plug everything into the calculator, including your pi. So you will get a decimal answer because you will multiply by pi, the irrational number, 3.14157, blah, blah, blah. You will multiply by that and you will get a decimal. It will be a rounded answer. In this quick review, we will answer in both exact and rounded form, just so that you can get used to that and start to recognize those two different answering formats, because you will be expected to be able to answer in either terms of pi or as a rounded to a decimal place. You will need to be able to do both. All right, in this first problem, it says to find the area for problems 1 and 2. So we are finding our area. Now, if you notice in the instructions, it does say it says leave answers in terms of pi and round to the nearest hundredth. So we are going to get two different answers. They are the same answer, it's just two different formats. So with area, there's only one formula for area. Area equals pi r squared. R is your radius. So looking at our picture, we see we have a segment that goes from the center of the circle to the edge. So this is our radius. Center to the edge is your radius, so our radius is 12. So we are going to substitute that in directly into our area formula. Area equals pi r squared. So area equals pi times 12 squared. Now we are going to get both of these answers, leave answers in terms of pi and rounding to the nearest hundredths. We'll do leaving our answer in terms of pi. When we leave our answers in terms of pi, we are going to ignore that the pi is there and only focus on the parts of the equation that do not include pi. So in this instance, it is your 12 squared. Order of operations does say to do exponents before multiplying. So yes, we need to do 12 squared before we multiply by pi. So when we do 12 squared, you can plug that into your calculator, or if we just know, 12 squared is 144. And then at the end, we will put pi. So you simplify everything that does not include pi. So 12 squared is 144, 144 pi. We are dealing with area. We want to have our units. So this is in meters. The area is meters squared. So our answer, our area is 144 pi meters squared. That is the exact form or the answer in terms of pi. To get our rounded answer, you will need to use your calculator here. So we are going to type in, you can either type in pi times 12 squared, or you can type in that exact answer, 144 pi. So if you're looking at your calculator, there is a little arrow up button. It is beneath the clear button. And there is a blue pi symbol. We will use that pi symbol so that we do not skew our rounding. So you can do, I'm going to show you two different ways to do it. You're going to press second and then that little arrow up to get our pi. Pi times 12 squared. Pi times 12 squared. That gives us 452.39. It says out to the hundredths, which is the second decimal place. Now, if you wanted to just type in 144 pi, that's totally fine. It's going to get you the same exact thing. Oops, if I type it incorrectly, that will help. There we go. You can see that 452.39. So our rounded area, 0.39, we still want our units, meters squared. Number 2 is also finding the area. This says find the area for number 1 and 2. So again, we are doing our area is pi r squared. Now area has to use your radius. So if you look at number 2 and you look at the information we are given, this 18 is a chord. It goes from one side all the way to the other side through the center. And if you've done the parts of the circle, we should know that this is our diameter. Our diameter equals 18, not our radius. They are not the same thing. Your radius goes from the center to the edge. So to find our radius, we need to take our diameter and cut it in half. 18 divided by 2 is 9, which means our radius is 9. So we need to use 9 in our area formula. So to find our area, it is pi times 9 squared. Make sure you're always using the appropriate distance here, radius versus diameter. Let's go ahead and pause this video and find the answer in terms of pi and the rounded answer. So pause this, find the exact and the rounded areas. All right, so if you pause, you should now see the areas. So our exact, or in terms of pi, should have been 81 pi, because we should have done 9 squared. 9 squared is 81. So 81 pi inches squared. And then plugging that into the calculator, 81 times pi, we should have gotten 254.47 inches squared. If you have any questions, let me know. But I'm going to go ahead and jump to number 3 and number 4. Number 3 and number 4. Number 3 says to find the circumference for 3 and 4. So now we're looking at the circumference. Once again, we are going to find our answers in terms of pi, and we are also going to round to the nearest hundredth. So we are going to find both of them here. Now with circumference, there are 2 equations depending on what information you have from your circle. So for number 3, we see we go from the edge to the center, and this distance is our radius. So our radius is 2.8. And with circumference, if you look up at the top, you've got 2 equations. You can do circumference is pi times d, or circumference is 2 pi r. If we have the radius, it is better to use that second equation, circumference equals 2 pi r. We're going to go ahead and substitute in what we know. Circumference is 2 pi times 2.8. Now, all of these values are written directly beside each other, and they are all being multiplied. It is 2 times pi times 2.8. They're all being multiplied together. So when we go to find the answer in terms of pi, or the exact answer, we are going to multiply everything together except for the pi. We are going to ignore the pi. Remember, for the exact answer, you do not plug pi into the calculator. So we are going to do 2 times 2.8. You need to do that in your calculator, you can. 2 times 2.8 gives us 5.6. So this answer, circumference equals 5.6 pi. So remember, with the exact answer, or with answer in terms of pi, pi is still going to be in your answer. So it's 5.6 pi, and then we have our units is just going to be feet. Circumference does not have the squared, it's just feet. Now finding the rounded answer, so rounding to the nearest hundredths, we are going to type all of that into the calculator. Just like for area, if you want to do 2 times pi times 2.8, that's fine. Gives us 17.59. You could also just type in 5.6 pi. That's our exact answer. So you can just type that in. It'll give you the same thing. But our rounded answer is going to be 17.59. 59 feet. All right, and looking at the last problem here, number 4. Looking at what information we are given, we have a chord that goes all the way across the circle. It passes through the center, which means this is our diameter. Our diameter is 35. So when we're looking at our circumference equation, we're going to use that first one that uses diameter. Pi times diameter. You can plug in what we know. Circumference is pi times 35. We need to find our answer in terms of pi, our exact answer. So we're going to multiply anything together that is not the pi. Well, if you notice, it's just pi times 35. We do not have anything to multiply the 35 with. So that means this is just going to be 35 pi. That is the exact answer for the circumference, 35 pi kilometers. There's nothing to multiply the 35 by, so it's just 35 pi. So then our rounded answer, I'm going to do 35 times pi. You can put the multiplication symbol if you want to, or you can just put it like this. 35 pi is 109.96. That concludes our area and circumference quick review. If you've got any questions, let me know.